both me and you get a lot of people that contact us for help, and we want to start having Saturday Zoom calls in the Steak and Butter Gang, so we can try to help people in a group setting on Zoom calls. But also, we want to not only just help them with the theory of using carnivore to get to help their mental health, but also with their actual carnivore diet so that they can be successful on it and get on the carnivore diet, stay on the carnivore diet, be in a strong community. Because I really thought about this a lot. And this is why I thought quite a bit before I agreed to do a weekly Zoom call on SBG. You know, when I talk to people outside of SBG through Instagram and through email, and I try to help them with their anxiety, depression, these things with carnivore, it's a lot to deal with for them because you know, as soon as I hang up the phone, they're out in the world and they're on their own. They're still back with their old habits and all the people that aren't carnivore and all the people that are telling them that they're crazy and that meat's bad for you and it's going to cause cancer and you should listen to doctors, not a bunch of quacks. But when you go into SBG and you see hundreds of people that are giving life-changing stories of health and, you know, I mean, doctors, you don't even have to take our word for it. The doctors that come in and do calls, you know, Dr. Chafee and Dr. Hampton, Dr. Kiltz, and there's even some doctors that are in the SBG gang too that did the protocol, and now they're fans because they cured their metabolic disease through carnivore. And so it's just, you need that kind of community. I need that kind of community because seeing there's so much information that comes through that, and we'll just put this comment up here right now. Yeah, hi Todd, I'm SBG2. I'm 79 days carnivore, over the road truck driver, owner operator, feeling better than ever, not planning on stopping carnivore ever. Exactly. That's awesome,
Yeah.
man. I'm so happy.
Shannon.
Shannon's awesome. So happy that you're in SBG. And Shannon, you know, I'd love to hear your experience with SBG as far as the community goes. I did carnivore on my own for 9 months and it was a life or death thing. So I had no choice. So I white knuckled it. But, you know, and I thought this is typical dude stuff, right? This is typical guy stuff where I thought I didn't need a community, you know, like I thought I can just tough it out, you know. And then immediately within the first few days of being an SBG, I was like, I was stupid for not doing this on day one because there's so much good information there. I mean, they were telling me why I felt bad eating chicken, why I was having diarrhea, you know, why I was having leg cramps, all these things that I thought I knew. When you realize that, you know, there's like 13,000 people that are doing carnivore in the SBG, and those people have all gone, you know, they broke trail. They've already are some distance either behind us or in front of us in this new walk here, learning all this in front of us, and they all have invaluable information to share that's completely unbiased, right? They don't have something to sell or whatever. All these people are just saying, this is what I found out, this is what worked for me, and all that information and all that experience is rising to the top, and it just helps accelerate. But then also you find that you have a community to lean on, because as soon as you leave SBG or these talks on YouTube or whatever carnivore podcast you listen to, as soon as you leave that, you go into the world full of other addicts that are depressed and malnourished and their brains aren't working right. I mean, to be honest with you, they start repeating all the propaganda bought and paid for by the drug companies, and they
Yeah.
start in big food, and they start just hitting you with it, and it's really easy to get beat down. What do you think, Chad?
100%. A community, like when I went to the roundup, it spoke to me to the point where I was in tears. Not only because everybody uh was giving you these amazing miracles of their health, but in addition to that, because you're like, you listen to other people say your story and you're like, I'm not alone. I suffered that way. And I went to specialist after specialist after specialist, and I'm not alone. Like, other people have felt this way and they are healed. That was one of the biggest things. And so then finding SBG, it's then you just get that like tenfold. To tell your audience, my family was trying to hold an intervention for me. They wanted to give me an intervention. They didn't want to give me an intervention when I couldn't drive myself anymore. They didn't want to give me an intervention when I had major phobias, anxiety, depression. Even because it was like to them, like my career was going good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I owned my own home. I was making good money, and like I was moving up in the world. And it was like the fact that I was suffering miserably, that was not the part to intervene. My physical and mental health symptoms. But I go carnivore and I start my own business because I kind of have like different life altering changes. Um, I overcome anxiety, depression, brain fog, phobias, uh, something I can only describe as schizophrenia. And then I'm healthy, the healthiest I've ever been. And now my family is like, you are crazy. We need to hold an intervention for you. And it's gone full circle where the people who are addicted to the drugs are giving interventions to the people who are off the drugs. And so to be in a group like SBG or to go to places like the Roundup or Carnivore conventions and things like that, that really, you find family.
Yeah.
And when I'm there with like Bella and Max and Dr. Kiltz and Anthony Chafee, and they're like, come to my wedding. Like, what? Like, yeah, you're a carnivore. That means we have a connection. We are united, regardless if you know it or not. We are united in what's happening in the world right now. And we probably have a lot more in common than most of the other humans on the world right now, spiritually, and emotionally, on top of the fact that we're just eating the same diet. On the outside, it just looks like we're eating the same diet, but people don't realize the emotional and spiritual transformation you go through when you can finally think clear. It's like you're more connected with nature. And these people, you can feel that, like the way Bella just like connected and Max connected and Dr. Kiltz connected, like they just wanted to get to know about you. And there's a lot of other people like Megan and Lisa and Dr. Sean O'Mara, and where they just wanted to be like, let me help you. And so when you go to a community, it's like full of people like that, full of people who have been through that transformation. And sure, when I went to the wedding, I'm like, I don't know where to put my hands. This is crazy. Dr. Anthony Chafee is speaking, and Dr. Kiltz is the officiary. And I'm like, what? Where am I right now?
Right.
And how did I get here? But she just invited me because she knew I was a carnivore. And because I went and I accepted that, I did feel connected. I felt so connected. I felt comfortable there. Like whatever social anxiety I had immediately melted away because we all had that transformation. So
Absolutely.
this is my
Yeah.
youngest. This is
Hey.
Cassius. Hey, buddy.
Hey, Cassius, how are you, bud?
He said, hi, how are you? Can you say hi?
Hi.
All right. I'll be right there, okay?
I'm hungry.
What, buddy?
I'm hungry.
Okay, I'll be right there, okay? Love you, bud. Shut the door. Sorry about that.
No worries. Yeah, 100% agree.
Like I said, I'm not in my like normal area where he probably doesn't realize I'm doing a podcast, but
Oh, no worries at all. I was just going to pop a few comments up here. Yeah, Shannon, I'm loving SBG community too. It's a safe, beautiful environment. Absolutely, it is. And then Adam's got a question. I get coaching from one of the coaches from SBG who is amazing. And I also have a men's group, but I'm expected to have a carnivore men's support group for encouragement and emotional safety. Absolutely. And that's coming starting this Saturday, actually. So me and Chad are going to be working on that this Saturday. So
heck yeah.
Can't wait. And Shannon, I love the peace and soul and how good it feels. I didn't even know how bad I felt until I felt this good. I know what you mean. It's funny. You get
Yes.
you get very accustomed to feeling like crap. And I mean, just everything from back pain to arthritis to inflammation. And then that's one of the things I love about getting rid of all the inflammation and healing is I didn't even understand how bad off I was. I didn't even understand how bad my posture was until until I healed. And now I'm like, now I don't tolerate anything. This is why people think that my diet's strict because I'm doing something crazy and I'm just out of my mind and I'm being so strict. And actually, It's just that my new addiction is feeling awesome. And so I only opt to eat things now that make me feel really good because one, I'm no longer an addict to any food. I'm no longer an addict to anything other than feeling good and carnivore probably. But so now when you're not an addict to anything and you're not constantly having to feed this dopamine addiction and you're not using it to keep your sanity and not eat a bullet because you're just trying to make it through the next 6 hours. So you're going to take some sugar down or some dopamine fix, when you don't have to fight any of that, well, then that gives you all the options. And then it really does become an N=1 of, I could have chicken or bacon or seafood, and that's not terrible. And it's not going to derail me, but I don't feel as good eating that as when I eat tallow and beef. So I'm going to eat tallow and beef, and then I don't feel as good as if I don't have eggs. Like I don't have the egg whites because that weighs me down a little bit, but the egg yolks gives me a really good hormone boost.
Yo,
it's perfect.
Can I talk to you about that real quick? Just like a side caveat. I'm doing a video right now. I've already recorded a lot of it where about egg yolks and egg whites and how egg whites have proteinase inhibitors, and there's some like anti-nutrients and defense chemicals within egg whites. A lot of people don't realize that. They want to do it as a whole package. But what I did is not only did I show the information, but I got 3 bowls. I had a bowl of egg whites for a dog, a full egg, and a bowl of only egg yolks. Right? Wow. And I just let them eat. I saw what they ate. They ate all the egg yolks. They licked the egg yolk from the raw egg, but they didn't touch anything else. And they didn't even go near the bowl. Like they sniffed it and they stayed completely away from the egg whites.
That's
the
awesome.
Bowl of only egg whites. Like I keep telling people like, well, that's where all the protein is. Like we are eating egg white omelets. Right. That's like nothing but anti-nutrients. Like it's the covering to, okay. So a lot of people don't know this for whatever reason, but the egg yolk is nothing but nutrition that feeds like what that little zygote in there, right? And that embryo eats all the egg yolk to become the full thing that it is. That's what provides it. But everything on the outside of that is actually it's like barrier. It's like force field.
Yep.
And it has a proteinase inhibitor and other anti-nutrients in there. So as bacteria tries to get in there, it gets killed, which is why you have to cook the egg whites, because there's going to be diseases, on the outside that you can easily get if you don't cook it. However, you can always eat the egg yolk raw. And that's because, and that makes sense. But it's, how many people do egg white only this and egg white only that?
I did it. I did it. So before carnivore, all I ate was those stupid cartons of egg whites, right? Because I was on a weightlifter's diet. So I was on a high protein, low fat, like 150 gram to 200 gram carb a day diet, right?
Right.
I've never been so depressed, suicidal, and miserable in my life as when I was on that diet. It was the worst diet I've been on by far. And I was sick all the time. I hardly lost any weight. I did it for 14 months. And that was just before I found keto, actually, that took me to carnivore. But those egg whites were making me sick as a dog. And same thing, everybody, the doctors, everybody's like, oh, these egg whites are healthy. Now, because that ran my testosterone in the ground too from being insulin resistant when I found that out, and I found out what egg yolks do for your testosterone. I now, which people think is crazy, but I eat 54 raw egg yolks every day, which sounds insane, but it is so good for your hormones. It is like an antibiotic steroid cycle, back in the day, not like the juicers are doing now.
Yeah.
But I mean, like back in the day, like in the 60s and 70s, it was like an antibiotic steroid cycle,
Yeah.
But naturally, it's crazy.
So I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I just eggs are such a tricky topic, because first you're demonizing them. You know what I mean? And like people demonize eggs, and then you're like, well, it's just the egg whites. And then you're like, finally like, well, no, the whole egg is a superfood. And then so to kind of resist even the movement, like the carnivore and keto and animal-based movement, you'd be like, part of it's a superfood,
Right.
It's kind of like going against the grain, because they just want to say that it's like the whole package is the best thing for you. And I don't think it is. I believe, especially when you're going on a completely meat-based diet or a heavy meat-based diet, you're actually slowly making it more difficult for your body to digest protein, which is when you're on a meat only diet, that's not ideal. So anyway,
For sure.
yes.
Oh, 100%. And I know what you mean. This is why carnivore to me, it gets packaged as all sorts of different things. There's Lion Diet, BBB&E, carnivore, dirty carnivore, all this stuff and every aspect in between. But to me, I think Jordan Peterson says it right. What it really is an animal-based elimination diet. And then you are your own N=1 experiment, and you have to figure it out for yourself. But the beauty of carnivore is bring it down as simple as you can be. So like I was keto, found that the vegetables and stuff were making me crave carbs, wasn't getting over the carb addiction, also was causing inflammation. Got rid of that, got rid of all the sweeteners that you can have, the fake sweeteners and crap, got rid of all that. Finally, I was down to like meat and lettuce, and I'm like, why am I eating lettuce? I don't even like lettuce, so I just cut out the lettuce. I was in carnivore finally, started feeling good. But then I got down to just BBB&E and got rid of the dairy, even because dairy has casing in it
Casing.
that, causes you to, have a lot more of an appetite and hold on to fluid, cause more inflammation. Got rid of all the dairy. Things started going really good. And then I even went to I think in my 10th or 11th month carnivore, I did 90 days of strict Lion. Yeah. And when I did Lion, that was great because I knew everything that my body didn't like and everything that it did. However, because my low testosterone at the time, I needed the egg yolks. And when I took the eggs out of my diet, I actually did worse on Lion because my testosterone, my hormones were crashing on Lion. So, I probably wasn't doing enough fat at the time either. But definitely, that's why I now basically do Lion plus egg yolks. So that's where I settled, which is ruminant animals plus egg yolks. And that works absolutely best for me. But it's really an N=1 for everybody. And I think everybody should start with, they should do the SBG priming protocol to get through the carb cravings, then try to spend a period of time, in my opinion, as eliminating everything that you can for a short period of time, like at least 60 to 90 days, and then let your body heal and then build back up one at a time what you like and what makes you feel best. And that's what works best for me. Because now I know without a shadow of a doubt, like I can't have, some people can do seasonings. I can't have black pepper. Black pepper throws me into a fit, just little things like that. What's your thoughts on that? That's how I see carnivore.
Yeah. So a lot of people, especially in SBG, they're so welcoming to everybody in all walks of life. And that's like, yes, that's the right answer, right? But if like you really want to figure out what's going on with you, you need to go the most elimination. You need to go to the most bare minimum. So it's like you can start to add things in. And as you experiment with that, you find out exactly what bothers you. And the thing is, it just depends where you're metabolically at. And in my strict opinion and my isolated opinion, this does not stand for anybody else. I think all these foods mess all of us up. It just depends how many of us are broken and how broken are we.
For sure.
So people are like, well, I feel fine doing whole eggs. I'm like, I know you feel fine, probably because you're metabolically somewhat healthy, so you can resist it. If I eat egg whites, like I'm going to feel it. And the reason why I think so, okay, let me back up a little bit. So every single species has a very specific diet, very, very specific diet. But what's very, very interesting about that is the ones with very specific diets. If they eat meat, like for example, if you have a cow that eats meat, or a monkey that eats meat, or a gorilla that eats meat, it's like they're like, that's okay. You know what I mean? Like they seem to not have that much of a problem. But if you start giving a cow food that's outside of its realm of eating, or you give a koala a food outside of its realm of eating, it gets very, very, very sick. And so we are lucky as humans that we have like a pretty adaptable body, but that does not mean you're thriving whatsoever.
for sure. Not.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I 100% agree with that. That kind of comes back to where we started when Shannon said she didn't realize how bad she felt until she felt this good. I really relate with that because I didn't realize. I mean, I'm not even joking. In a lot of ways, I feel better now than I did at any time I can remember in my life. And even when I was, a teenager, right? Because I breathe better now. I have better circulation, better oxygen saturation and everything now than I've ever had in my life. And so I know what you're saying, like people, because I hear this a lot with people that are starting carnivore too. And they're like, yeah, but that's you, but I don't have a problem with that. But then they stay on carnivore long enough that they finally get off it just to try it. Right. And then they realized they were having a problem. They just didn't even recognize it because they had gotten used to that being the normal way of feeling. Right. X, Y, and Z amount of inflammation and allergic reaction or inflammation response. They didn't even realize it. You really don't know until you get off all that stuff and you get away from it and you simplify it. That's why Michaela Peterson and Jordan Peterson do Lion, which is just salt water and ruminant animals. And that's all they do,
I want to try adding eggs back now because I haven't had eggs in a couple months, and I would just do raw egg yolks.
Yeah.
That's all.
Dude, that's exactly what I'm doing. I take 18 eggs. I go to Costco. I get these flats that have 5 dozen per flat. They're the Wilcox Hooterite eggs, and I have chickens too. So I know they are very similar to my fresh chicken eggs. They're as close as I've been able to find. I get those. They're not too expensive. I get them at Costco. And then I separate 18 egg yolks, and it fills this cup up to about right there with egg yolks. I just down it in one swig, 18 egg yolks. I do that 3 times a day. It's about 12 ounces of egg yolks roughly, right? And I do that 3 times a day, and I just think of it as like a protein shake, right? But it is,
yeah.
Yeah, it makes me feel fantastic.
Can I ask you a question? Have you ever done the macro counting on that?
Yeah, it's something like 270 grams of protein, I think. And and which is fine because then I eat one meal on top of that in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And I get like what is it? I usually eat about 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds of red meat when I eat that meal. So I get a ton of protein, right? I get like 350, 400 grams of protein a day when I'm doing this. Right. And I don't care about the calories. I care less about the calories. Like I just know that when I do it, I don't gain weight. I gain muscle. I have composition changes. I feel fantastic. My body heals more and more every day. But then it's also worth noting, I hit that many eggs so hard because generally I'm doing a 7-day fast. I eat for 7 days and then I do a 7-day fast. So I'm also eating for that next 7 days when I'm doing that. But generally I'm eating somewhere around 6,000 calories a day when I'm doing that. Losing weight and getting strong, getting stronger and stronger and more lean. And it's crazy. I feel really good right now and really light, and I'm still 400 pounds. You know what I mean? And I'm light at 400 pounds. Like I feel really good at 400 pounds right now, which is crazy because that's a lot of weight, but it's crazy, and it's such a composition change, man.
Yeah. And so I think this is a good transition to also say what that does for your mental health, because our brains, so cholesterol is a precursor to testosterone in men, and cholesterol is also a precursor to testosterone in women, but testosterone is a precursor to estrogen in women, right? And so I seriously, I have enjoyed eating so much before. I get excited for meals now. Me too. I look forward to like a good steak, or what's even weirder, and tell me, I feel like this is a little bit primal, but like when you have a really good steak or some good ground beef. And by the way, I've been like stuck on this grass-fed kick right now, grass finished.
Yep.
It's like the aftertaste in your gums just is like, oh my God, it's so satisfying. You just feel so good. Like I can't even explain. I've never had that kind of feeling before.
Do you feel like you almost have like a euphoric kind of feeling in your muscles? Like here's how I explain it. Like, and this is real, and I don't know if everybody has this, but when you wake up in the morning and you stretch for that first time and your muscles feel awesome. They almost feel like they're vibrating or shaking in the morning when the oxygen blood flow is getting to them. You stretch them out and you go, oh, that feels good, right? That's how I feel after I eat red beef with a good amount of fat. I don't get it from bacon. I don't get it from, any kind of pork or chicken or whatever. I get it from two things. I get it from fatty red meat and I get it from raw salmon. And my muscles will feel like that for a couple of hours. And it just makes me want to go out to the garage and start lifting heavy things and throwing it around.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And I told you, I think a little bit that I did this accidental experiment where I wasn't going to my butcher because I moved. Like right now I'm living, which is God, this situation right now, but I'm in my parents' house right now while my wife is in a different state because we're in the middle of maybe a transition to a different state. And so I'm not going to my local butcher that I normally go to. And just for saving time, I've been going to like Sprouts and other like natural grocers, whatever, or, just wherever I can. And the only non-garbage beef there is the 100% grass-fed, grass-finished. And so I was like, whatever, you know what I mean? I'll just get that. To me, it wasn't a big deal having to be 100% grass-fed. But as doing this accidental experiment, I feel like someone has given me steroids. When I roll in jiu-jitsu, when I eat, that feeling in my teeth after I eat, in my gums and my muscles, it's unreal. And I just need to do things. Like today, I put myself in a sauna and I was in there for an hour. Now I was working out while in the sauna. And the last 10 minutes, I was just going as hard as I could with these squats, these body weight squats. And I was like ready to pass out. And then when I got out of the sauna, I got like a new burst of energy. I'm like, who
Right.
is this guy? What is going on?
Well, have you seen that Eddie Hall is doing carnivore, and I think he's talking to Sean Baker about his diet
Yeah.
plan?
Mhm.
I mean, and Eddie Hall's like, this is insane. I'm getting stronger and I'm losing weight and I'm eating 10,000 calories a day of meat. And he's just, it's blowing his mind, right? And that's what we all go through, and you're talking, I mean, Eddie Hall is an animal, right? Eddie Hall, he's working out. He's been doing this. I mean, he's an athlete of athletes, and he's even seeing benefits from as hard as he trained to be the world's strongest man. He's even seeing increases.
For sure. Dude, I met Matt Winning, Eddie Hall, a few of those super heavy hitters because I live near the Olympic Training Center. And so I meet a lot of really cool athletes. Man, when they shake my hand, when Eddie Hall shook my hand wasn't even, it was like, when like I held my infant's hand for the first time, that's what it looked like. I was like, oh my God, it wrapped around. It was so embarrassing. That dude is a monster.
Brian Shaw must make him look small then. Brian Shaw looks like an absolute man.
Dude, Matt Winning was the same way, dude. Like it was insane.
I got a
I have
question.
ADHD, yeah.
I have ADHD and doing strict carnivore feel good, but still can't get motivated or passionate to do anything unless I take ADD meds. I think it's a dopamine thing. Any thoughts about this?
I have lots of thoughts about that. Adam, if you can answer real quick, I would like to know what your diet looks like. I would like to know what your lifestyle looks like in terms of when do you eat, right? And one of the biggest things, especially with people with ADD and ADHD, what we're seeing a lot of the time, and I'll kind of get into this, is that our lives as humans were pretty atrocious for the longest times. And so, and like you said, a lot of it is a dopamine thing and inflammation in the brain. So if there's still things in your diet that are causing inflammation to the brain, you're going to see that. But the other thing is, well, getting back to the dopamine, is there's a bunch of motivational chemicals that are released before dopamine that are incentivizing you to get the dopamine. If you think about it, in what were the three hardest things to ever do when in our early ancestry, it was to get food. You had to what's it called, brave the elements. You had to brave close calls with death. You know what I mean? You were going through rivers, catching pneumonia, dodging bacteria, dodging other predators. That prey that you're trying to kill is trying to kill you. You have to make sure you're not eating rotten food. So it's like, just to get a piece of food was a very hard task. I mean, millennials and Gen Zers and stuff would have a trauma response just by living a regular day of their ancestors. And in order to survive that, your brain chemistry is actually aligned to do very hard things every single day. And so here's the issue. Not only are we not doing very difficult things every day, in addition to not doing hard things every day, to add on to the problem, is that when people wake up, they still are trained that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And so as they eat, as they wake up, they eat breakfast. What ends up happening is they release dopamine. And then once that dopamine comes out, all those other motivational chemicals that are supposed to get you doing other things, they go by the wayside. They're like, whoa, I already got the dopamine. And so it blocks your ability to produce those motivational chemicals. And then all of a sudden, you're just kind of pleasure seeking and pleasure seeking and pleasure seeking because it wants the easiest path to that dopamine. And so you get distracted and move on to the next thing, distracted, move on to the next thing, because you're trying to get that dopamine release at each step. And a lot of people don't know this, but the other hardest thing to get in our early ancestry was information, learning something new. Learning something new usually meant a life or death situation, or somebody actually, dying. Someone dies, and you're like, okay, I learned that for the rest of my life, right? And so learning new information. So if you wake up in the morning, or sorry, if you get dopamine, right, like filled at the beginning of the day, like getting so much information in, you're trying to get the next easiest dopamine fix, and a lot of the time that's information, learning something new. So if you're doom scrolling, that's why we get addicted to doom scrolling, because it's like new information I like too. And so that we get hooked on that in a variety of ways. And then that ADD, that ADHD is now a symptom of the fact that you are so used to getting that information so quickly, on top of the fact that your brain is not in the proper state to fight that battle. So did that make sense, Todd? Did I kind of get through that? Okay.
It absolutely does. And I mean, also what I found, because I can cause some anxiety issues that cause a cortisol response if I get overloaded, right? And so being really, and Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot too, being unorganized, getting behind on things, having too many loose ends and details, right? When you start tackling those things, because there's a lot of this is just diet hormone. There's a lot of this that's habit, but then you have to understand too, that those habits and kind of dealing with that chronic anxiety and stuff has also built physical habits in your life that kind of build an environment around you that also trigger those type of things. So if that's like, I hate that word, but it's true, right? Mm-hmm. That the little bit of chaos and stuff. So what I found is once I did what I needed to do with the fat to heal the hormones and balance the hormones and the brain chemistry, and I got away from the dopamine response, I still had to organize things in my life in a way that wouldn't also cause that same kind of environment that I was used to living in chaos when I was super depressed, being procrastinating and leaving loose ends or whatever, or overbooking myself. I was really good at putting too much on my plate and trying to make everybody happy all the time. Like I had to cut out a bunch of those things too. And that helped. But I look at that. The reason why it triggered that in my head is like when you were saying that is there's something about doing those hard things, like doing the things that you have to do, doing the hard things, staying organized, staying on top of your stuff, facing all the things that you used to procrastinate because you didn't feel like you had enough mental capacity to face one more problem that day. But hitting those head on remind me of what you said about hunting and doing the hard things to get the kill, right? Like right. You face those things head on, get them off your plate, and then you get this dopamine release because you just went, and it's kind of like a hunt in a way. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. That's the thing is, we are so far distant from our purpose. Everyone thinks they need to have like this purpose, like prescribed to them or ascribed to them, right? It's like, I need to know what my purpose is in life. And I think a lot of it is like prescribing your own purpose. Like, what is your purpose, right? Viktor Frankl talks about in a society where people don't have a clear purpose, we start seeking pleasures, right? And we start going down some very dark paths, right? And it's very ugly. So this gets philosophical, but when our early survival, like for example, people get addicted to getting deployed a lot of the time because when you're over there, the mission is clear. It's survive, kill as many as the enemy before they kill you, so on and so forth. However, when we are living in today's society, when we're living in this environment, your purpose is not clear, and your purpose is probably lacking satisfaction. Like, hey, have these reports on my desk by the end of the day. And it's just like, how is this leading to my survival? And like, you kind of get tricked, where it's like, well, I need money. Well, why do you need money? Well, I need to like buy food and buy things and all this other stuff. And becomes very convoluted. And
sure.
so I think when you have a purpose, that like, with the people that were hunting, the purpose was clear: survive and get the food. And every single task that you did was to support that and nourish that, period. No ifs, ands, or buts. You know what I mean? Like, nowadays, it's like we get so in our head because our purpose is not as clear as that. And so when you like going camping, that's why you feel good camping. It's because it's like, well, this food ain't going to make itself. Well, this campsite ain't going to clean itself. Well, this shelter ain't going to build itself. And so it's like you are in the moment of providing for the moment,
For sure.
you know? And so anyway, I think that's why a lot of people suffer from ADHD, is because maybe they're in a position in their life where that purpose is not so clear. And that's why I had to get away from my career. I was making great money. For me, it was great money. I worked my ass off to get where I was, and to walk away from that, everyone thought I was a freaking idiot, in order to go choke people in a dojo that I created, you know?
Right.
It doesn't make sense. But when you're doing jujitsu, the purpose is very clear. You know, for hours at a time, I don't have my phone. I'm teaching people how to be better in how to defend themselves. And then when I'm rolling, it's like, I got to not get choked right now, and I got to try to choke this guy. And you can't be anywhere else in the world, you know?
Right.
And that's short term, that's short term, purpose driven. And so what was very interesting for me is I noticed that a lot of my like ADHD, or ADD rather, type symptoms that I was having issues with became very clear when I started waking up every single morning for this message: to heal veterans, to know that 22 vets a day are committing suicide, 135 people are committing suicide a day, and 68 point something percent of those are white men. So what percentage do you think that is of men? Probably 75%, because
Right.
men are 4 times more likely to commit suicide than women. So yeah, I might be off on those some of those last numbers, but regardless, like that's my purpose. There's something very wrong, and I feel like I have the treasure chest. I feel like I stumbled upon the gold, and I'm like, let me give you some money. And I now I just need to get in front of them and dish them why this is like the ultimate currency.
Well, for sure. And then when it gives you your life back, that does become your new mission to you just almost want to transplant people into your head for a second and go, see how freeing this feels. This is where I was. This is where I'm at. What was that movie, Guardian of the Galaxy, where that robot had the point of view gun, where you could shoot people and they could be in your head for a minute and feel what you feel and see things
Right.
how you see it. I know. And that's when you finally, this term's been overused so much, but when you finally wake up, and the scales are lifted and you feel good and your brain's running good and you see what they're doing to our food environment, and how good you can feel and how free you can be, it's like you just want to go slap everybody awake.
Yeah.
Say, just stop eating that poison, stop buying this lie, stop listening to those people. It's not doing us any good. It's made it's made 74% of the Earth's population, metabolically sick and obese and have some sort of chronic inflammation disease,
Agreed.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know what I think is that one clip, I think it's from a movie, but where he like puts the glasses on and he sees what's really there, right?
Yeah.
Like propaganda or whatever,
Yeah.
That's the way I feel like. It's like I feel like I can't take off those glasses. I feel like I see a lot of the world for what it is now, and I'm only seeing more and more of the world for what it is, and I can't go back. And I want the people I care about most. Like, I'm looking at the people I love the most, like family members. I'm seeing what they're putting in their body, and you're just like, it's like you're watching them put poison in their body, and you're like, ah,
yeah. Not only that, but when you're watching them and you try to engage them on it and they argue with you, you know that you're arguing with an addict, right? You're not
Yeah.
even arguing with like a rational person. You're like, oh, I remember these arguments. I used to say these arguments. I used to think this way, because you are so hooked on that. You can't imagine a life without that right now. Hey, real quick, I'm going to do a couple things I've been meaning to do thus far. So again, we are doing this because we're doing a men's health Zoom call every Saturday in the Steak and Butter Gang. And we're happy to answer some questions here. But the thing is here we can help you with our stories and our experience of how we healed a lot of anxiety, depression, PTSD, ADHD, these things, and what our view is on it. But it's just hard without having a community to get you guys the support that you need to really do carnivore and start it. And so I want to put the link in here for SBG, because I think, I've thought about this a lot. I don't have any sponsors. I've never pushed links. I don't try to sell anything to anybody, but I firmly believe that for people to be long-term successful, and this has come from now over a year of talking to people on, Instagram DMs and emails and stuff, and trying to help them, and watching that these people fall away because I can only talk to them for an hour a week or so. And then they go out into the real world where they're surrounded by their environment of addiction and other addicts that are going to tell them that they're wrong. And I realize now that, I spend so much time in SBG and in YouTube doing talks like this, and on Instagram putting together posts and thinking about this and preaching it in my real life, that this has become my message in my community. So I'm laser focused. And I realize, because I've had some friends that are doing very good on carnivore, but even they, when they got too distracted by the world and got pulled away from their carnivore community, they had some hiccups and fell off the wagon type of thing. And so I'm realizing more and more why I've been so successful is, one, I believe it's my faith in God. I think he's delivered me, but also two, it's the community that I'm in, and it keeps me laser focused. So what I want to do for the first time ever is, this is the SBG link. I'd like you guys to pass it out to anybody you think needs help. And see if they want to sign up. If somebody is, if you're new to carnivore and you want to start carnivore, I think they have the best group to actually get you through from first day on carnivore to your 6th year on carnivore. It's been by far my favorite group I've ever been in, and I've been in pretty much all the groups now. And this is the one that I think helps the most people. They have the most calls, the best, open chat every day. They have coaches in the chat that can help you out. They give you advice. All the members are very active in it. They have amazing calls. And then we are going to have calls on Saturday about men's health. And so, anyhow, I just wanted to put that in there if you guys are interested, or if you have, maybe if the ladies are listening to this and say, this is what my husband needs, maybe sign him up and have him come to the men's meeting, and just try to drop it in his ear. So that was one thing that I wanted to tell you. And then the other thing that I wanted to tell you guys is, I can't even believe it. I don't know how this happened. I was just, I don't know. I was just doing carnivore as a Hail Mary to try to live 22 months ago. And now it works so well, and this stuff all took off, that Bella and the Steak and Butter Gang and Hack Your Health has invited me to be on a panel at Hack Your Health this year in 2025 in Tampa Bay, Florida. So here's the link to Hack Your Health, and here is the coupon code to it, and this will save you $100 on your ticket.
Dang, hundreds of dollars.
$100. It'll get you $100 off on your carnivore passes to Hack Your Health in Tampa Bay, Florida. So if you guys want to come down and meet us and go to Hack Your Health, we were at Hack Your Health this year in Austin, Texas. Next year in 2025, it's in November of 2025 in Tampa, Florida. And I mean, it's awesome. We're going to have a full SBG panel, and also Bella's going to have a panel like she did last year with a bunch of the doctors. So if you guys are interested in that, please use that Carnivore code to get $100 off. This is the cheapest time because I know from last year they do this $100 code for a couple of months, maybe 60 days or something, and then it goes to a $50 code, and then I think a $25 code. So definitely want to get in early as you can. But if you want to take a shot at that, I get nothing for saying that. I don't want when we're talking on stage, I don't want nobody not to be there. So if you want to, Bella the Steak and Butter Gang and her panel had the biggest attendance I think I saw at Hack Your Health in Austin this year. So it was really fun. It was great to meet everybody and great to be in that community. So definitely check that out. I also wanted to answer Adam here on his dopamine deal. I was going to tell you kind of a trick that I did too, Adam. And I did this unknowingly, and then I figured out why it worked later. But when I was first starting Carnivore, I had like ridiculous anxiety. And then, as we all know, we all get hit with a dose of cortisol at about 3 o'clock in the morning. You know, we hit that dawn phenomenon cortisol release. It's supposed to wake us up, you know. And but when I would get that, and I was going through caffeine withdrawals and sugar withdrawals, carb withdrawals, all that stuff when I was first starting Carnivore, like I would wake up, I'd be full of anxiety, and it was just like the world was crashing down on me. And I just, you know, the voices in your head just saying, who are you fooling? This is just another crash diet that's not going to work. You can't do this. All that stuff would be just coming in my head. And I would usually crumble, and I would usually fall off a diet, you know. And so what I did was I knew enough to know that insulin resistance was keeping me from having leptin sensitivity. Leptin sensitivity is your satiation hormone. So I wasn't ever satiated. The only way that I would cut off the signal in my head of cravings and wanting to eat was to stretch out my stomach, because your stomach lining has sensors in it that will shut off your hunger hormone, right? It'll tell your brain that you don't need to eat. That's why most people that have eating disorders eat until they're physically full, because they have to hit those stretch sensors in their stomach lining to shut the signals off in your brain. So with that in mind, I devised a plan as an electrician. I devised a plan to use that as like the overload switch to shut off the cravings for eating bad things. So what I did was I told myself that when I would wake up and I was having that full anxiety attack and I was wanting junk, and I would wake up in the morning, I would say, all right, here's the deal. You can order pizza and all that crap if you want it, and have sodas and all that crap if you want it. But before you do, you have to make bacon and eggs, and you have to eat it until you are stuffed full. And once you eat the bacon and eggs and when you're stuffed full, you just have to wait 1 hour. And if you are still this hungry and craving all this crap, you can go buck wild and order whatever pizzas and sodas and whatever you want. And so I was able to stick to that, and I was able to eat that bacon and eggs. And once I would stretch out my stomach with the bacon and eggs. The cravings would go away. I would calm down. The fat would do me good. And I would make it another day, and I was back in my right mind. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this is because something interesting happened when I was doing that cycle of things. What happened was I started getting like when I first did that, it was okay. It was just a bargain, but I didn't, I didn't eat it and go, oh, this is just like eating pizza. I was eating it. It wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't the dopamine fix that I was wanting. But when it would shut down when I would stretch out my stomach with the bacon and eggs, I would shut down that hunger signal, and I would live to fight another day. But what was so interesting about it is about the third day that I was doing it, I started getting excited about eating the bacon and eggs. And the reason why was, and I didn't realize this until I was listening to Kelly Hogan talk, but there's something called an anticipatory dopamine fix. And so the reason why I started getting a dopamine high from eating bacon and eggs, it wasn't because I was eating bacon and eggs. It was because I was telling myself that I could eat this bacon and eggs, and then once I had done it, I could go order a pizza, because I kept my promise to myself. I just had to eat this bacon and eggs, and then I could order pizza and soda. So I was getting this dopamine fix by the thought of that I had found a cheat code to get to the pizza and the soda, right? And that's called an anticipatory dopamine fix, even known that that barrier of entry to the pizza and soda that I put in between would shut my hunger off, that would put me in my right mind. It would give me the strength that I needed to not do it. Still, just thinking about that was the pathway to the dopamine fix. You get an anticipatory dopamine fix. And how I knew that was right was because I used to think back to, I'd be working all day and I'd be miserable and I'd be tired and I'd be just lethargic and chronic fatigue stuff and depressed and full of anxiety. But man, about 6 o'clock at night would come around. I was leaving the shop and I was already thinking about the pizza and the stuff I was going to go get for dinner. And I wasn't eating it, but my mood would start to lighten. I'd be happy knowing that I was about to drive and go get all this crap, right? That's an anticipatory dopamine fix, and it happens to all of us. So I bet if all you in the chat that have any similar addictions to where you were doing something to get dopamine, you didn't actually have to do it. Just the act of going to do it and letting yourself do it and going, in the process of doing it before it ever got in your body, you were probably already getting some dopamine. And that was a crazy thing that I'd found out, because one day after about, 2 weeks, I woke up and instead of my brain going, we got to get pizza and junk food and tacos and soda, my brain said, we got to get up and get bacon and eggs. And I was like, wait, what? And that had changed the target, because now from the anticipatory dopamine fix and feeling better, all of a sudden my body started relating the bacon and the eggs to the dopamine fix, and it had swapped the target. And I was like, holy crap, that worked. And it was
back your health.
Yeah, really was. So I always like to tell people when they talk about dopamine on that. Let's see. I'm going to make sure we got all the questions, because we do have to get running here. We're a little bit over, but let's see here. I'm going to run through these. I was going to answer this one. Has anyone got off blood thinners on Carnivore? I was on blood thinners and I got off of them. However, I didn't do it the right way. I can tell you I'm fine now, but I just was so mad. Kind of what you were saying earlier, Chad, when your family was wanting to have an intervention with you, but they didn't when you couldn't drive. I had a similar thing with my cardiologist where he didn't care about my diet at all when I had congestive heart failure and was on oxygen and couldn't move. But then I did Carnivore for 6 months, lost 200 pounds, was completely off oxygen, and I'd thrown all the medication, including the blood thinners, away in the garbage and never took them again. And when I called him, I thought he was going to be ecstatic, because my heart rate went from a resting heart rate of 107 beats a minute to 68 beats a minute. I was off the oxygen, and my oxygen saturation went from 88% saturation to 96%, 88% with oxygen to now, at the time, 96% off of oxygen. And I had no symptoms of congestive heart failure anymore. And so I thought he was going to be excited. And he told me that he was worried about my diet. That was the only thing I had to say. So I had a similar thing. I'm like, well, I told him that I was worried that he was having a stroke, or he was, mentally ill, because he wasn't seeing the miracle that had happened in front of him. And that when I was incredibly sick, he didn't give a dang about my diet. And now that I'm healthy, he cares about my diet. And it's the very same thing. So make me blush. The reason why I'm saying that is I did get off blood thinners, but I didn't go through a doctor, and I'm not recommending that. I do see things a little bit differently. I think you have to find, like, I'm channeling Dr. Phil. You probably don't know him, but he's a very good doctor. That he gives his expertise in the steak and butter gang, but he will always say, find a doctor that's going to work with you and be your partner and work toward your goals of getting off of it. So that way you can be safe, but also advocate for your own health and do it the way you want to do it. So I would definitely say, find a good doctor that is on board with you getting off medications. That's the first thing. Say, I want to get off these medications, and I want you to help me with a game plan via low carb, high protein, high fat diet of getting off these medications. And you will find one, and then that's a safer route to go, I think. And that's coming from people smarter than me. So let's see, eat mostly the same thing every day. Absolutely. I love the routine. Oh, sorry. I'm just going to rifle through these, make sure we didn't miss anything. Let's
What
see
does it say?
if you're just satisfying and
Satiating.
satiating. Yeah. I feel good. Variety is variety is an absolute scam.
It's an absolute scam. Balanced diet is a scam.
Yep. Hey, Sherry, I appreciate you. Let's see. Eating the same thing every day is satisfying and satiating. Yeah, absolutely. That was, I have a trauma response if I get low on meat. I feel you there for sure.
Oh, when I was saying that trauma responses for like just trying to hunt every day. Yeah.
Absolutely. Adam says, thanks, Chad. This is a great insight. I will definitely be there Saturday and we can dig more into it. Absolutely. Overbooking, people pleasing is big one for me. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, absolutely. I'm bad at that too. I got to stop that. It didn't get better when I started a bunch of social media platforms. That definitely didn't get better. Hey, Charlie, this is Charlie and Marilyn from the SBG gang. Hey, Todd. Charlie here. Congratulations on program Medium Voyage. Thank you so much, Charlie. We appreciate you and Marilyn always supporting us. Yes, the clarity is amazing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Charlie again. SBG community is a lifesaver for many people who need support and direction. People helping people. Absolutely, Charlie. I love that place. I've never sat here and put out their links and stuff because I really have not been at all about promoting stuff like that, but it is such a helpful thing. And to be honest with you, I the only time I see people, and it's not to say that it can't be done, but when people reach out to me for help on the side and I try to help them, I can only give them an hour or so a week each. And then they go out and they have no community. And so they get talked out of it. And it always, they do good for 2 weeks or whatever. And then they're just gone. And then I don't see them. And then they come back, 3 months later and they say, okay, I'm ready to retry. Where every time we get people in the SBG community and they start making the meetings and they, everybody wants the answers and think that they can get, all the answers in a few videos, but this is a complete and total journey that you're going to go on. It's a journey of a lifetime, but it's going to take months, if not a few years for you to get all the questions figured out. But it's definitely going to take, like 6 months for you to get all the tools to where you can kind of stand on your own feet and really have a strong foundation where you can start being free from all that stuff. And that's why I decided I really want to get as many people as I can into SBG so that we can talk to you about the mental health. And then you can go to the sugar and carb addiction meetings and the troubleshooting meetings and the priming and fasting meetings and the open chat and get the help that you need to actually get to that 6-month mark where you can do the sustained health and healing to get to that freedom on the mental health side too. Great tip, Todd. I've actually done that. It works. Absolutely. Isn't it crazy? It does work. It's so weird. So interesting. Redopamine anticipation. Absolutely. It is crazy, but it totally worked. It was a godsend. I really think it was kind of a blessing that I just stumbled on or God led me to.
Carnivore is balanced.
100%. Yeah. I mean, take a steak, right? I always laugh because it's like you hold a ribeye in one hand and like a rice cake in the other or broccoli or a banana. Which one of those is more balanced in itself? Like, I mean, I always call ruminant animals God's juicers. They sit out there, they eat all that nutrients that everybody wants us to get that are in the plants, put it into their meat. They stand in the sun where all the vitamins come from. They eat and stand on the ground where they get grounding, and they eat all the minerals out of the soil. And then they run it through 4 stomachs, ferment it, and take all the oxalates out of it, put all that nutrients in their meat, and then they make it taste like a ribeye for us. It's like they are God's juicers. They are God's delivery system for nutrients for the body. And if for the human
it's like the
body,
ultimate hack. It's like the ultimate hack.
It is. And if you ever have a question, if that's true, the brain is 70% fat, cholesterol, and 30% protein, and a ruminant animal is a cow, is 70% fat and 30% protein.
Who would have guessed?
Right?
Who would have guessed?
It's the building blocks. It's like I never understood, I come from a construction background, And it's only in the human body and dieting culture that they say if you put less in, your body will be stronger. You need to calorie restrict and you need to put less things in your body. And you need to be moderate in putting things in your body and you'll have a stronger body. It's like, since when? I don't put less building materials in a house and get a stronger house out of it. Why would I put less molecules in my body and have a stronger molecule, body?
That's such a good point. It's like it's what you're putting in the structure, not how much of what you're putting in the structure.
Well,
I could put styrofoam all through here, and I could put how many blocks of styrofoam through here, but I guarantee that's going to be stronger or not as strong as a few bricks. You know what I mean?
right, absolutely. And that's what drives me insane. They want you to eat hyper palatable, high carb, high calorie, high glucose foods that are nutriently deficient in protein, fat, amino acids, all the nutrients that you really need. And they say, well, what you have to do is do that, but then eat less and then you'll be healthier and you'll be stronger. It's like nonsense. Why would that ever happen? It's absolutely insane to think that that's the dogma that's being taught. When now that I'm on this side and I know that I can sit here and eat 6, 7, 8,000 calories a day, and I might gain a little bit of weight, but I'll lose 2 or 3 shirt sizes. Like I was eating 7 to 8,000 calories a day for 6.5 months when I was priming. I gained 21 pounds, but I lost 3 shirt sizes. And the pounds that I lost, or the pounds that I gained, was muscle and bone density and healthy lean tissue. It wasn't fat. And that lean tissue ate the fat, which made me wear smaller shirts, look better, have better composition, be way stronger. But it's good weight. We're not trying to lose weight. We're trying to put on healthy, lean weight. We're trying to put on healthy weight. We're trying to get rid of unhealthy weight. And a lot of that unhealthy weight is fat that's also storing a lot of oxalates and toxins and crap that we put in our body our body has to be strong enough to fight and get rid of too.
You told me one thing which was really cool. And I don't even think you were telling me. It was like in passing, but once you started carnivore, the goalpost shifted. It was no longer this number about weight. It was about becoming mentally healthier. It was about improving your daily life, and the byproduct of that is just each day you look a little bit different. You know what I mean? But like the goal though is like I want to feel the best I can today. You know what I mean?
100%. And that's exactly why people think my diet's crazy. And they're like, you're doing something radical to lose weight. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I got free from everything. What you think is radical is actually optimal because this is the way I feel best. And I no longer eat for a craving. I now eat for an outcome of health and how good I feel. And I no longer am stuck in this prison where I have to kneel to a dopamine response and eat something that's going to kill me and make the rest of my life hell. Now I can eat what my body wants. It even enjoys it. I don't miss being sick and I don't miss all that other nonsense. And I feel like a superhuman after I eat it. I literally, I can't explain it until you've been there.
Well,
I just can't explain it.
It's an inverse relationship. And I wanted to talk about this earlier, and I think that you'll like this, Todd, is I start explaining to people, I'm becoming more sophisticated with the way I approach this explanation, but you have capabilities, right? And so you have capability on this side and capability on this side, and it's inversely related, right? It's like 2 sticks. It's like if you have like 2 chopsticks and it's like going through, I'm thinking this in terms of physics, but it's like you have a hole and 2 chopsticks, and I can make, if I want to grab something on the other side, I have to really close in order to make the chopsticks bigger on the other side. So that's the example I'm going with. Yeah. So that's the inverse relationship. Your capabilities to eat as much food as you want in terms of a variety of food increases, but your health and your vitality will decrease on this side. So the more you limit, in a healthy way, but the more you limit what you're willing to eat, the more capabilities of health will reveal themselves on the other side. The more you can grab. You just have to be willing to sacrifice one to get the other. So when you say that, like on a carnivore diet, I can eat until I'm full every single day, and I will still usually have metabolic health unless
sure.
I'm doing something crazy wrong with it. Right. And so that's what I'm saying. It's like I give up what I can eat. However, I increase my metabolic capability and function, my overall mental health and function, my overall physical health and function, you know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
I give myself freedom and capability on that side by giving up freedom and capability on this side. It's an obvious, you know what I mean, give up to move forward. So when people say that you're radical, I think it would be a more radical approach to say, I'm willing to be deformed. I'm willing to be fat. I'm willing to be metabolically unhealthy. I'm willing to have depression. I'm willing to have anxiety. I'm willing to have ADHD. I'm willing to have all these things. I'm willing to
Absolutely.
have my foot cut off to diabetes. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. And I love it when I don't know why I never thought about it as being deformed before, but you're 110% right. Because when I started priming and I started putting on that healthy weight, one of the things that happened to me was my posture got better. My back straightened up, my legs and my hips straightened up, all my joints straightened up. It was the craziest thing. And I realized that a lot of the health problems I was having with joint pain and stuff was because I was kind of deteriorating or something, atrophying, and that weight was actually deforming my skeletal structure. Right.
Yeah.
I got, when I lost 300 pounds, I got like an inch taller. Like, no joke. Gravity, gravity's a bugger. I'm going to share this too. For sure. I'm going to share this. But this is one of my favorite pictures. I post this on Instagram all the time. But this is kind of what we're talking about. And this is what I really think all the time. You have two choices of suffering, and this is what I always said, is that what I finally realized is, when I was so sick and unhealthy and I had so much weight to lose, that I thought that it was suffering by not eating, by withholding the things that were going to give me the temporary dopamine response, and that was going to give me a temporary release. I thought that was suffering, but that type of relief, a temporary relief, gave me this type of suffering,
Mhm.
which this type gives you no, this type gives you no hope, right? It just gets worse. It can always get worse, and you get weaker and you get sicker. But the reality of it is when you relieve yourself from that suffering on this side for an hour a day to eat those things, you're actually condemning yourself to suffer far worse for 23 hours that every day. And every day is going to go by and years are going to go by. You're going to get worse. You're going to live in a prison. You're just going to, this suffering is an illusion. It's actually choosing to not suffer by choosing to eat meat and get free from the drugs, right? When
Mhm.
you get free from the drugs, your decision is equally as hard every day, but you get so much stronger. You're so much more fit to handle everything, right? You build so much mental strength and healing, and your body gets stronger and healthy, and your brain and your everything gets healthier, and you get so much stronger that everything becomes easier. Even though it's the same struggle, you're going to have the same struggle every day. Your body and your mental state becomes so much stronger to handle it. You just rise to the challenge when you suffer this way. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what was finally the big difference, because I know that people like me that had, 400 pounds to lose sit here and go, what's the point? I can't do this. It's too big. I can't, that would take 5 or 6 or 7 years. But when you get to the point that you realize I can make tomorrow better, not 5 years from now, but I can make tomorrow better by actually choosing to be uncomfortable and not do that dopamine thing and find a way around it to eat the thing that I know is going to help. And this is why carnivore is the key. I 100% believe this. And this is why it's the key, is because we all have this. Anybody that's come from this kind of background of having a lot of weight to lose, you've been on a million crash diets, calorie restrictive diets, and you can only white knuckle it for so long. You can only do it with willpower for, I think my longest period of time was 17 months. I did it with willpower for 17 months and lost 300 pounds. As soon as I couldn't hold on anymore because I didn't fix any of the problems, it was just with willpower. It all came back on and then some, right? But carnivore, when you feed your body the proper human diet and the nutrition, it's not white knuckling. It's actually an investment in your health. You actually get a return on it. Your body heals. You get stronger. It gets more like that stronger suffering in that picture, which means that the next day, it's just like lifting weights. You might only start with 10 pounds, and that might feel heavy, but the next day it's going to feel a little less heavy, and it's going to feel a little less heavy, and you're going to get a little stronger, and you're going to get a little stronger. Pretty soon it's effortless, pretty soon 100 pounds is effortless, and it's crazy how that works. But we have to stop. We have to realize that carnivore is not like all the other diets where it doesn't pay you back and make you stronger. It's actually going to give you a net benefit that's going to help you keep going. It's going to heal you, and it's going to give you strength, and you're going to get stronger where when you're just white knuckling it and starving yourself, you weren't getting stronger. You weren't fixing any of the problems. This is going to heal. So you are going to get stronger. And every day you don't have to get to the 5-year mark to the end result. We used to think that because we thought, I can only white knuckle this and hold on for a year. So I need all this to be done in a year. That's the only reason why we thought that way, where you don't have to do that anymore, because every day is going to get better. Every day is going to come off. And if you don't, that year is going to go by anyhow, and you're going to be in a worse spot. That's what I had to finally figure out. We're always in motion, and we're either going deeper into the forest or we're digging our way out. And so, you got to point yourself in the right direction. That's why I love Jordan Peterson's message of, you can have whatever you want within reason. You got to know what it is, and you got to point in that direction, right? And you got to start moving in that direction every day. Small.
It's like a riptide. You can swim back to shore, but if you stop swimming, you're going to get drawn out there. You know what I mean? So you don't realize it when you're getting drawn out there, but you had so many good points right there. But what I want people to also realize is that might be a 5-year goal. And what you talk about, making yourself better every day, people stop snoring sometimes day one. Don't you want like a good night's sleep? Don't you want to finally sleep and feel rested? That can happen day one. Like, a lot of these benefits start happening within the first couple weeks.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So it's not like, man, what would you give right now? Like, sleeping good or not sleeping good? People stop snoring and they stop having sleep apnea within either a day to a couple weeks of going on carnivore. That's immediate. Think of how immediate that is. Something that you thought you would have for the rest of your life, done virtually overnight.
For sure.
So it's so start looking towards those goals. Like, maybe I'm just going to do this to, for a little while to see how it helps with my snoring, or to see how it helps with my posture. You know what I mean? Things that happen really quickly. And I don't, like, for mental health, like, how quickly for you, after you started doing this diet, did you feel your first, like, someone stepping off of your chest finally with mental health?
3.5 weeks. 3.5 weeks. Like, no joke. And this is why I kind of feel bad. And this is honestly one of the biggest reasons that I wanted to do this, and I want to get people to the SBG gang. It's because for me, it happened in 3.5 weeks. I literally went from some days like going, look, I'm going to do something real permanent here, but I'm going to wait till noon. And I'd give myself 6 hours at a time. I would just find a reason to hold on for 6 more hours. That was happening all the time those last several years. Like, I would literally, some days, the anxiety and it's just so miserable that I could only find an excuse to put it off for 6 hours at a time. And I was just buying time until I could fall asleep. And then I always hated waking up, because waking up was the worst. It would just, you'd wake up and realize you're still alive, and all this just massive weight of just depression, anxiety would just fall on you, and it was miserable, And I went from that literally every 6 hours trying to come up with a reason, a new goal to reach, to not eat a bullet in that 6 hours. I went from that in 3.5 weeks to going, I didn't even know I could feel this good. I didn't even know I could walk around without this weight and this. I mean, it was so, the depression was so thick and heavy. It just felt like I had like stiff muscles on my neck and my shoulders and my back all the time. It just felt like it was squeezing my chest and my back and my neck and my shoulders all the time. It was the worst thing. I can't even explain it, but I know that other people know what it's like. I didn't know that at the time.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
If I were to give you, if you were in that state where it's like, I just got to make it to lunch every day, right? And if I said, look, I have this pill, and let's say Todd, how much would you pay me if you started taking this pill that 3.5 weeks you will no longer be depressed?
Everything I
Well,
own would be yours.
how much would that pill cost? Everything you own, right?
Yeah, everything. I give you everything.
Would you go into debt for the rest of your life to pay for this pill?
For sure. Because
Dude,
yeah.
that's all you did it with Carnivore. You didn't even have to pay for it.
Oh,
You
I know.
probably saved money. Isn't
Oh,
that crazy that
oh,
their answer is out there in
oh,
3.5 weeks, not like 4 years? If I said I have this pill and you won't have depression anymore after 4 years, you would probably still take it. But it's
absolutely.
3.5 weeks.
100%. And I know exactly what you're talking about because I have these. I was in Ken Berry's group one time, and I was telling him how iodine was the closest thing to a miracle pill that I've ever taken, because iodine is one supplement I still take at really high doses, and it's fantastic for me. But a guy raised his hand, and he was like, well, how do you get over the taste of it? And I'm like, I don't care if it tastes like, fried monkey balls and, armpits. I don't care. Like it's saving my life, like. And
Yeah.
so I said, I honestly think that if you're asking that question, you haven't been in a bad enough spot to appreciate what it's doing for me. Because, and even Ken Berry was like, yeah, I mean, I said, I'm going to need some more try out of it. If you can't get over the taste of iodine once a day to save your life. I said, I always think about this when people tell me that carnivore is too restricting, or how to get over the taste of iodine, or what do you do when you get tired of meat? I'm like, like from where I was, this is a no-brainer. But what if you looked at a paraplegic or somebody that was missing their legs and you said, look, I got some good news and bad news for you. The good news is you can grow your legs back and walk and have all your senses back. But the bad news is you're going to have to eat ribeye every day for the rest of your life, and that's it. Like, that dude would beat you to the finish line to take that deal any day of the week, right? Any day of the week, So that's what I feel like every day. And this is why when people are like, hey, Todd, are you going to have a cheat day for your birthday? I'm like, cheat? I already cheated death. What are you talking about?
Yes.
Like I'm not ever feeding the enemy again. I'm not ever relinquishing my health and my stance on health and giving in to the enemy ever again. I'm never giving that up. Not for me.
Health is the best tasting thing in the world. Health, like people who getting that second lease on life is so spot on. Health is the best tasting thing you could ever do. I used to tell myself all the time, like, well, I'll cheat on the weekends. Okay, no. I shouldn't cheat on the weekends. That's too much. I'll cheat on my favorite holidays. Okay, so like Thanksgiving and my birthday and blah, blah. And like you said, and then you start to get there and you're like, I don't want to compromise this.
No.
I don't want to compromise this. I don't even think about it. And this is my only compromise. This is the only compromise I made. If I take my wife to Italy, her and I have agreed that we will eat some authentic fettuccine. You know what I mean? Some, for the experience. And I'm like, that's going to mess me up, right? And she's like, but will it be worth it? I'm like, we'll find out. But like, that's like the only thing. I literally have to be when in Rome.
Right.
Like, in order to cheat on my dad. There's no way I'm going to cheat on it for anything less. Right. There's no
100%.
way.
100%. And, that's why I feel about it. I look at it now and I'm like, why am I going to take my money, give it to the big food and drug companies on a holiday or a birthday so that I can give them my money so that they can use it against me to try to make me an addict, try to sell me drugs, and try to control me? I know that is a little bit out there for some people, but that's honestly the way I think about it. It's like,
it's true.
Yeah. I'm not going to fund the enemy and also give them, give them ground or give them leverage over me ever again. Like, now that once you see it, and that's the thing, is once people see it, once you clearly see it, and maybe I'm just a little radical, I don't know, but the way I see it, I'm like, I'm never doing that again, because I know how quickly that stuff can rob your quality of life from you and just take everything that you have, and yeah, just never again, and that's what I always think about when I'm
never again, Todd. Never again will I go back there. No. Never again. Look what's already done to me. Like, for you, it's overweight, and suicidal thoughts. For me, it took away my ability to be alone, to drive a car. You know what I mean? It almost cost me my marriage.
Yeah.
And seeing my kids every day. Like, why would I want to go back there or risk anything? No. You know, like when you look at a drug like cocaine, Like we don't think of sugar like destroying lives, but it does because that's
Worse.
normal.
Worse. I
But
think it's
you look,
worse.
yeah, but you look at cocaine and it's like, what, you gonna do a line on your birthday? Would you ever say that to an addict?
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly. And that's what I tell everybody too. I'm like, replace sugar with meth. Say meth instead of sugar, and then see if that makes sense. Like, what's wrong with having a little meth covered cereal in the morning? You know, what's wrong with having a little meth birthday cake? You know, for your
yes.
birthday. What you're not gonna have? You're not gonna be normal. Everybody has a little bit of meth, and then has the shits and withdrawals for a day or two, and wakes up feeling like hell. People say this stuff. And that's the way I think about it. The only reason sugar has killed more people, I bet, than any other drug if you really did the
Oh
research
yeah.
by a long shot.
Oh yeah.
Sugar's killed more people than communism, but we don't think of that way because it's in these cute little pink and purple boxes called cereals in the morning and on cakes and frostings and tied in with all these holidays. But that's all just ridiculous, propaganda and marketing that's tricked everybody. But if we really see what it is, what sugar is to me is it was 600 pounds when I was 14 years old and quite a rough life, up until recently for the next, 26 years, right? Whatever. I'm not a victim and I don't have any regrets, but I see it for what it is, right? And if we
Mm.
don't want all of our kids to have metabolic disease and obesity and mental illness, we got to stop this and we got to start calling sugar the drug that it is and treat it like we're being attacked because we are, and we have to make that the reality now that we know, because if we don't, I mean, where do we go from here? In another 30 years, they say that men's testosterone is going to be so low they won't be able to father children, you know?
Yeah, a lot of these weird movies, like Children of Men and things like that, it's like all these sci-fi movies keep coming true. Like V for Vendetta and
Yeah,
stuff where you're like, oh, I'm glad I don't live in that reality. It's like they all keep coming true. This is BS. This is
100%. Oh,
I,
JW saw you on Rebecca's channel earlier. I watched you guys too. I couldn't say anything because I was working, but I was watching.
thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah.
That was awesome. We'll rifle through these. You build a house of shit, it's going to stink. Absolutely. uh, Cattle are efficient bio reactors, converting uneatable grasses into nutrients dense proper food. Absolutely, Charlie.
Yeah.
100%.
One of the last videos or pictures on my not TikTok, on my Instagram was I eat filtered grass or I eat filtered vegetables, and it was a steak.
Yeah, exactly. I know, and I hear those too. I like the one. My favorite ones have always been. I love vegans. They taste delicious. Like literally. Hey.
Uh,
Hi. Very nice to see you again. Let's see here. Part here. I wish eating ribeye. Yeah, paraplegic here. I wish eating ribeye bring moving back. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Right. 100%.
what was the likelihood of that happening? Sorry, JW. Like,
Dog shit would make me able to walk and feel my legs again. Absolutely, exactly,
yeah,
JW.
exactly.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, these people that say those things, they don't really know what they're talking about. And God bless them, but they just haven't gotten sick enough. Or at least they haven't understood how sick they really are and how serious it is. And look, I'm preaching to the choir. It's like I tried a lot, but I wasn't doing the right things. And the biggest thing was I was still listening to the doctors for a long time because, if I'm being honest, I think I just wanted the magic pill. I wanted to hear that the
Hmm.
doctor had the answer. He was going to subscribe me a pill and give me a magic program that I was going to go on that was going to allow me to keep being a sugar addict and a little junkie and be healthy and lose the weight. Right? We all chase that lie. That's the lie that's being sold to us, where what we have to do, which I finally did when I had nothing else to lose because I was dying, was you have to go, all right, I'm putting this in God's hands and I'm going to do the research and I'm going to do what I think is best and what my body's telling me and what my spirit's telling me and just do that. And that led me to carnivore. And you could say what you want, but I'm down 310 pounds. I'm off all the medication and I'm as healthy as I've ever been in my life, and I don't have congestive heart failure anymore. And it's just like, that's the proof. And with that proof and the best results ever, my doctors right now are telling me that I'm at risk. You know?
Yeah. That's you said that earlier, and I really like that. It's like when I was dying, I was legally blind. I was 700 pounds. I was pre-diabetic. I was all these things, right?
Yep.
You didn't ask me about my diet once. You know,
Not
I mean,
once.
you barely cared about my diet. What's all the medication? And now all of a sudden diet's part of the conversation and you're worried about my diet as all these symptoms are being like really, it's
Right.
like, are you losing money? Are you
Yeah.
losing a customer?
100%. That's what happened, because I told them, first of all, when I left, so I was in the ICU for 11 days when I found out I had congestive heart failure. They believe I had a stroke, but I was too big to put into the MRI machine. It wouldn't fit. Not even in the oversized one would I fit. So they couldn't take an MRI to see if I had a stroke for sure. But the reason why I went in there was because I'm pretty sure I had a stroke. They're pretty sure I had a stroke. I couldn't even string together words. And I woke up that morning with the worst headache I'd ever had in my life, confused. Couldn't string together sentences, and my oxygen was 58% saturation. I had stopped breathing. So, anyhow, crazy. That's what put me in the ICU for 11 days. When I was in there, they ran all these tests, found out I had COVID lung and I had congestive heart failure and I had to be on oxygen and I had all this crap, right? And so they set me up with a sleep apnea specialist, an home oxygen therapist. I was a cardiologist, pulmonologist, more blood work. I had like 7 appointments that I had to go get to. And I was so sick and so big that they sent like a ambulance and 7 firefighters to help get me in the ambulance because I was so big at the time, right? And then they think I'm just going to run around doing all these tests and stuff, right? And they sent me home with like 7 different medications, blood thinners because of the stroke, which I was talking about earlier. Gout medication, that was another thing. I had so much stuff going on, I forget them, but I was on gout medication, high blood pressure medication, blood thinners, cholesterol medication, heart pills. I don't even remember what they are, but to help my heart beat stronger, I was on fluid pills. I don't know. I can't even remember all the pills, to be honest with you. I was on Advair, steroid inhalers, nebulizers, all this crap. I took them all and I threw them in the garbage can when I got home that day because I was not going to go to all these appointments. I was like, I'm going to do carnivore and I'm going to live, or I'm going to die and not go to any of these appointments because I'm not going to do this. And, be honest, I was looking for a reason not to be here anyways, right? So that didn't matter. That wasn't that's why I'm saying I'm not advocating to do it as immediately as I did it, because I wasn't thinking about longevity at the time. I was just mad at the situation,
Can I ask you something? What year did you go carnivore?
It was 22 months. So it was 2022, I believe. It was 1st of 2023, January 1st, 2023 was my official day.
I know this is like a side note, but I'm glad that you survived COVID.
Yeah, that was hard. I guess I didn't get into that part, but in 2021, I got COVID, and a buddy of mine that worked at one of the supply houses also got COVID at the same time. He was healthy as a horse, same age as me at the time, and he got it a week before I did. He went in the hospital and he died because they put him on remdesivir and a ventilator, and he died at 38, and he was healthy. So I had COVID, and the reason why I caught COVID too, I think, was because I had been on keto, but I fell off keto and I was trying to come back around. So I decided I was going to do a 40-day fast. At the time, I didn't know anything about fasting. I hadn't done it, but I was desperate to do something. So I made it to 21 days, white knuckling it. But I was drinking a bunch of water and I was peeing a bunch, and I lost all my potassium because I peed out all my potassium. Well, I'd lost so much potassium that it turned out that I had messed up my blood plasma, and my blood wasn't holding red blood cells anymore. So my red blood cells tanked. I wasn't getting oxygen. So I started having asthma attacks at day 21, and I had to take a bunch of potassium. They gave me an IV, and I believe they gave me red blood cell injections to get my red blood cells back. So when I went in to get those injections, that was when I caught COVID because I didn't have an immune system because my red blood cells were tanked, and I was in the hospital and I caught COVID. So when I came home, I was sick as a dog, and I'm just going to say it. And probably this video will probably get tore down and all sorts of stuff. But I wasn't going to go in for remdesivir in a ventilator because I knew I wasn't going to make it. And it got bad. I was coughing up blood. I was having to lay on my side, hanging my head off the bed to keep my lungs draining out of my mouth. And I was hacking up blood clots that were just coming out of my lungs that were just huge. Jeez. And I was hacking them up, but I used I prayed a lot. I used a nebulizer, and I was nebulizing oregano oil. That's a good oregano and rosemary that opens up your lungs, and it's a antibiotic for your lungs, a natural one. Which because I don't believe in eating vegetables, but I do believe they're medicinal, or whatever.
Yeah, medicinal, for
medicinal.
Sure. I think going keto like saved your life for real. I bet you brought your inflammation and you were in ketosis, like that you were more metabolically healthy than you realized. You know what I mean?
So,
I think
I had a fever of 103.2 for 13 days. And I was out of my mind. I didn't think I was going to make it. But I was taking ivermectin in the horse doses. Like that was the only place I could get it at the time. And I was taking it, and it did make me feel better.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I made it through it. But during that time, I got congestive heart failure, and I gained in 3 weeks' time from that. I gained 84 pounds of fluid because my heart wasn't pumping hard. Okay. So I swelled up like a giant water balloon, and that's why I think I had a stroke that night. And that's what ended up having me go in the hospital. But at least I was through the COVID part. I didn't have COVID anymore.
Yeah.
But I had congestive heart failure. I had COVID lung from the pneumonia. My oxygen when I went into the hospital was like 61%. That day when I took it, it was like 58, which is like death. Like you're on death's door.
Yeah.
So when I got out of there, I was forever on home oxygen, 6 liters of home oxygen. And with the home oxygen, it would only get my oxygen saturation up to 88%. And so that's where I stayed until I finally threw all the stuff away, went full carnivore. I'm like, this is it. I'm doing this or I'm dying. And I went full carnivore and threw all that crap away. And in 6 months, I was down 205 pounds, off all the medication. I was off my oxygen, and my oxygen saturation was 96% with no oxygen. Congestive heart failure was gone. I was completely mobile again. Depression, anxiety, gone. Had energy, could see better. My resting heart rate went from, I think it's like called cardiotypnia or whatever. My resting heart rate was 107 beats a minute, and it went down to 68 beats a minute. And just everything was better. Like I had color in my face again, like I could breathe, I could sleep, all these things. It was just crazy. Yeah. And so it just brought me out of it. And then the doctor, I call him because I was supposed to go on like 7 more specialists. I never went to any of them. So my cardiologist is like, hey, we just want to see, you haven't filled in your gotten refills on any of your prescriptions. How are you doing? You're very serious, in very serious trouble. I want to have.
Hold on. That's the marker. When you don't come back for your prescriptions, that's what triggers it. Seriously. Oh my God.
Yeah,
it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, they looked in their computer and saw that I hadn't filled any prescriptions.
We need to sell more drugs. What the hell?
Right. It was a sales call, basically. And so, and I actually was naive enough at the time that I thought he was going to be cheering for me.
Yeah.
Because think about it. If he would have gave me a shiny pink pill, said take this, and it had all those results that I just told you in 6 months, I would be the poster child for this magic pill, and they would sell it for $5,000 a pill, and everybody in the country would buy it, and I would be touted as a resounding success story because of this magic pill. But because that magic pill was ribeye, they're worried about my diet.
Crazy.
It's totally.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that was just, God, that struck me pretty hard.
No, I had a great point. I didn't even think about that really, but yeah, I'm sure they were looking through there, and he's like, we were worried about you because you're not filling your prescriptions. It's just like, go back to
somebody getting off of their drugs. Like that one movie, what's it called? Like Equilibrium or something. It's like, do your drugs. They're going to come get you if you're not doing your drugs.
Exactly. I'm fighting to stay out of a wheelchair. I'm not and can walk unassisted, but have spinal muscular atrophy. So I am doing my best to stay mobile. I know you are, Kendi, and we are all praying for you, and I know you're doing great. doctor office at 5'5", 300-pound woman telling me I need to take more meds for my health. I said, I'm going carnivore. Exactly. Seriously, I love that so much.
I love those pictures of the health ministers from different countries telling you not to eat eggs and shit. I
Right.
love that stuff.
Right. I know. And it's so crazy, especially the American one, like, whatever. But I mean, if you don't know what gender you are, you have no right being in charge of biology health. It's like, whatever.
Mhm.
What are, more meds. Yeah, exactly. I started carnivore back in December 19th, 2023, the day after. And I am at the end watching, or I've been watching you, Todd, Limitless Lindy, and the three main doctors, Ken, Sean, and Anthony. And I haven't looked back. Congratulations, JW. Man, I think this thing's been a life changer for me. And I know it's been a life changer for everybody, Chad included,
I agree with what JW is saying here. As have you tried Carnivore Lion? Like people don't realize how much like Lion is healing by going that full restrictive carnivore.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I messed up with the copy and paste. No worries. Great program. Information must go to bed. Bless you guys trying to help people save their lives. Appreciate it, Charlie. Tell Marilyn we said goodnight. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we better let you guys go. We were only going to do an hour show and it's been an hour and 50 minutes. But we love talking to you guys. Oh, we got one more here. JW working with Dr. O'Mara. So
Yeah.
with the exception of a tiny bit. That's awesome. I met Dr. O'Mara and we all did in Wyoming.
He
Yeah,
came on my show. He so if you go to my channel, I have a little chat with Dr. O'Mara, and he was just a wealth of knowledge. So
that's awesome. He's such a good dude. Well, we appreciate you guys. I'm going to put this link in here one more time, just in case if you have anybody that a husband or family member that you think would benefit from it.
Oh yeah, and next time I'll be streaming from my, like I said, my internet was all whacked today, but I'll be streaming from my channel as well. So if that way you guys can find me, but it's just combat.carnivore on YouTube. So you can find me on Instagram, combat.carnivore, or my link tree is linktree, /combat.carnivore. I'm combat carnivore. That's, you find me.
That's awesome, man. And definitely go check out Chad's channel and subscribe. And if you guys feel so inclined, come check us out in the SBG gang on Saturdays. I'd love to see you. Love to introduce you to the whole gang. Charlie, a lot of people in here tonight are SBG gang members. Awesome community. Love it. Here's the Hack Your Health. And again, that coupon code is all uppercase letters Carnivore, and that'll save you $100 in the coupon section at Hack Your Health.
And when is it?
That is November of 2025. I think it's look on the website, but I think it's the end of November, about I think it's the 23rd through the 25th. It's a 3-day event. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I'll be there.
Absolutely. It's gonna be awesome. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. You're gonna get to see me talk on a stage, which I don't know why, but I'm gonna do that. So it'll be awesome. So I'd love to see you guys there for support. Would sure appreciate y'all. So yeah, well, Chad, thank you so much. Hang tight, and we are gonna shut this baby down. We love you guys. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.
Absolutely.